Hello again. Welcome if you've just joined us here. We're in the second hour of the Friday edition of Today here on eNCA DSTV channel 403 with me, Dan Moyane. Now, the United Nations General Assembly revealed only 15% of sustainable development goals have been achieved. This is only 7 years ahead of the 2030 deadline or target date. It's no wonder the centerpiece of this week's 78th United Nations General Assembly is the SDGs for peace, prosperity, progress and sustainability for all people. Let's speak now to the CEO of the African Housing and Infrastructure Fund, Rali Mampeule, who's in New York attending the assembly. Mr. Mampeule, good afternoon. Welcome. Thank you for joining us here, Rali, on this important. Just tell us why it's important to blend business acumen with philanthropy as the world is seeking to achieve Vision 2020. I understand you believe in this.
Yes, greetings, Braden, and greetings to your viewers. We're quite excited to be here at the United Nations General Assembly. We are attending a few of the sideline events, and we're quite excited to, blend the issue of what we call an impact investment. So we believe that as a continent, we need to try and have entrepreneurs that are able to get into business that can give solutions, but also at the same time making a difference to the continent. And we're quite excited to be playing in that space as the African Housing and Infrastructure Fund.
I mean, housing and infrastructure are linked to a couple of the SDGs. I mean, you can't separate them. They are part of some of those goals. There's 17 goals in total, and the SDG Summit is also happening. It's the centerpiece of this week. How critical is it for Africa to make progress and for partnerships to happen in terms of innovation, entrepreneurship on the continent?
So we're quite excited, as you may know, Braden, that we have recently, as the Mampeule Foundation, launched the first 3D print machine in partnership with our government and also the University of Johannesburg, where we printed the first RDP house in a day using the 3D print. And we're quite excited that these are some of the issues that we are dealing with here at the United Nations. Side events where we are discussing some of the innovative stuff that we are involved in. And certainly 3D is part of what we're looking at. But we're also saying that as the continent, one of the things that we need to really push and start looking at is really the digital divide, because it's very important that we as the continent start looking at how we can make internet to be available to the majority of our people in the continent at a price that is affordable for most people, because we don't want to leave anyone behind. I mean, the world is well connected, and if we are not being matching that, the continent can be left behind. I mean, we have one of the youngest continent in terms of the age group of an average of about 18 years old, where we have more than 200 million young people in the continent with a population of about 1.2 billion people. And that is such an exciting situation to find ourselves in, but if we are not connected, we can then be left again. And this is a decade of Africa.
Yeah, I mean, I think goal number 9 talks to what you are saying now in terms of innovation. But there is also a goal about sustainable cities and communities. How, just a discussion that you might be having here, how dignified housing can become a reality for all on our continent? How can that be achieved, Rali?
I think we're sitting at an opportunity, Braden, where, part of the stuff that we are discussing here is how do we reduce, zero emission, and the opportunity lies with the continent, because we are now building new cities as a continent, as you can imagine, and that gives us an opportunity for us to be able to build dignified homes for our people. I mean, we as the African Housing and Infrastructure Fund, AHIF, we are involved in buying land, going through the town planning processes, installing the services, and actually installing the fiber underneath as we install this. But the most important thing is that we can be able to build this house as dignified homes that can be able to be sustainable. I mean, if you know, most of the governments in the continent are really spending billions of rands, if not dollars, and really building houses. But the question we need to ask ourselves is to say, how sustainable are those houses? It is something that we can be able to look at in the next 20, in the next 40 years. And I think that's what we need to look at as we are building these dignified homes, that we don't just build houses that are not going to last for long. So we're quite excited to add value in the continent as the fund in making sure that we can build sustainable, dignified homes for our people.
I'm just going to link two things. You've mentioned it already, and this might be an opportunity just for you to share AHIF's vision in terms of your affordable connectivity program. If you're going to build dignified homes into the future, you want to use that opportunity as well, I guess, to close the digital divide. I mean, those homes into the future should be, for example, connectivity enabled.
No, certainly. I mean, part of what we are here as AHIF, our vision is to accelerate delivery of affordable housing. And while we are doing that, part of our ecosystem is to make sure that we also can connect our people. And also we are involved in the energy space, where we are saying we do know that the continent does struggle with energy. And we are looking at other renewable energy alternatives as part and parcel of the solution to give to the continent and address the issue. So we're quite excited to be playing in that space. And we've met a couple of institutional investors, DFIs and family offices who are quite keen in making a difference in the continent and making sure that we can be able to really, really accelerate the delivery of affordable housing in the continent. So that's part of what we've achieved in this side meetings that we've been having. And we look forward to coming back home, as today is the last day of the summit, to come in and implement.
Yeah, Rali, finally, an overriding question. What's the sentiment on the sidelines of this summit, as you've been engaging with different people from different parts of the world, around the 7 years that are left in achieving the 17 sustainable development goals? I mean, we got 2030, just 7 years away. What's the general sentiment there around this summit? What are you picking up in New York?
I think what we're picking up is that the continent is really continuing with the theme of saying that we need to start manufacturing our own things. We should not just send away the raw material to other countries, to the global north, but we must be able to really work on industrializing our own continent. One, but secondly, there's really a sense and element of saying that we shouldn't expect too much from from other nations. As a continent, we need to start working hard and making sure that things can happen here. The continent is currently being seen as a risk. I mean, with some of the things that are taking place in terms of the coups in other countries in the continent, and that's really scaring some of the investors. And what that means, it means that there's opportunities for us to work on what we call Afri capital, which is really money that also comes from Africa, to be able to stay in Africa and manufacture things and be able to export and be able to sustain our own continent, while we're busy massaging the rest of the world to come and work with us.
Thank you very much, Rali Mampeule, the CEO of the African Housing and Infrastructure Fund, speaking to us from New York on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly, and of course that SDG Summit, which of course, as he said, is ending today. I mean, 7 years to go. I don't think the world will achieve Agenda 2030. There's a lot of challenges, and those 17 goals touch a lot of things, and Africa particularly is way behind on several of them.